K98 Talk is expanding its lineup for 2015. This means we're expanding our advertising base. Whether you're a startup trying to push through to the next level or an established business trying to supplement your advertising budget, web-based advertising is a solid investment. Thanks to Talk's newest partnership with TuneIn Radio and instant access to our sister station, K98 FM, we give you worldwide access at a reasonable cost. Interested parties should email us at advertise@k98talk.org. The leader in talk radio on the Internet, right here on K98 Talk and the Spark Radio Network. Welcome to Opinion Nation.
And we stand today on the edge of a new frontier.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
What makes us Americans is our shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal.
I, too, am America.
Now here's your host, Bryce Robbins.
And hello, everybody, and, well, it's another Saturday, and today I am joined by presidential hopeful and former Virginia Governor, Jim Gilmore. Hello, Governor Gilmore.
Hello, Bryce. How are you? Good to have a chance to talk with you.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so glad that you've taken the time out of your busy schedule to get to talk to us. So we're trying to go around and talk to as many presidential candidates as we can. We've scheduled with quite a few, mostly later into the fall. We've talked to some lesser names such as Lloyd Kelso, but we're so glad that you're here to talk to us today. So why don't we just jump right in? First, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? What is going to set a President Gilmore aside from everybody else?
Well, Bryce, I believe that my experience as governor of Virginia is going to be very key. I think that most Americans at this point are tired of first-term senators after seeing President Obama, and they're going to want a governor or a former governor, someone who's run a state. But the difference, Bryce, is that I have a long lifetime history of working on foreign policy issues. I was the chairman of the National Commission on Terrorism and Homeland Security for the United States government for 5 years. I'm a United States Army intelligence veteran, having been assigned to NATO during the Cold War. I was the governor of Virginia during the 9/11 attack, and I have these experiences. So I think what sets a potential President Gilmore aside is that I'm going to be able to offer real substance on the issues because I have real experience. And I think that is going to be a big difference, experience in all the key areas facing the challenges facing the nation.
So you've said that, quote, Trump is wrong on immigration, and that Republicans echoing Trump's message, they're sending a dreadful message. So what is your opinion on this whole immigration issue? It's been a big, you seem to stand out from the pack in this one, and I respect you for it. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you feel an immigration policy should be approached?
Well, Bryce, your listeners ought to be aware of the experience that I have. I'm a University of Virginia trained lawyer. I was an elected prosecutor in Virginia. I was the Attorney General of Virginia, and I'm very familiar with the law and all the bases of the law. I understand the historical foundations of the 14th Amendment as a former governor of Virginia. So here's where I am. I believe I'm very tough on the immigration issue, but I believe I've offered something that will actually work to get this behind us. Number one, I believe that we have to be tough on the border and control the border. Number two, we have to get rid of sanctuary cities. I understand that's improper. How dare people try to think they can suspend the United States laws in their particular city? I think that illegals who commit crimes should be vigorously arrested, convicted, and prosecuted. And from this day forward, I believe that we ought to have a firm and fixed policy that anybody that overstays a visa or comes across the border illegally must be deported. However, I do not go so far as Trump does in Trumpism to suggest that we should repeal the 14th Amendment or alter the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment guarantees the rights and privileges of people born here in the United States, and I think that it's dangerous to start giving the government the ability to figure out which particular disfavored group has an opportunity to have citizenship and who doesn't. Down through history, we've seen governments, totalitarian governments, remove citizenship and then abuse people. The 14th Amendment was designed to prevent that kind of historic impropriety, and I will not stand for a proposal to alter or repeal the 14th Amendment. I stand by the Constitution, and I'm calling on your listeners to do that too. The last point, of course, is that what do you do about the people that are already here? And I mean, that's a stark choice. You either say you're going to deport everybody or you don't. I think you don't. I think we've let this go too far, that people that are here are being, for the most part, constructive. Let's issue them work permits, but I do not support the path to citizenship. They can stay, and they can be here with a work permit, but there is no path to citizenship until they obey the law.
This very moment, fearless, resilient entrepreneurs are...
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that.
Nope. And that's the end of my little speech on immigration. It's long, but immigration is complicated.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. All right. So it's interesting that you talk about, I guess, the whole rights for immigrants. It kind of segues nicely into another topic. So in 2001, you supported the principles that embodied a equal rights amendment. Now, with the advancement of social issues, the growth of the LGBT movement, the new Black Lives Matter movement, all, I guess, the culmination of, social media and millennials, would you still support an equal rights amendment?
Well, you must have done some kind of opposition research here or background research, because I'll be honest with you, I have no recollection in 2001 of supporting the Equal Rights Amendment.
Okay, no problem.
I'm kind of puzzled by that. But here's the point. You can ask me any specific question you want, but on that specific issue, I always have supported a traditional marriage between one man and one woman. That's my view. But I recognize that time has moved on. That's not necessarily the world that I live in today. And I think the Supreme Court has really settled the matter.
Well, I think that's a smart way to go about it for a politician these days. Is not to be too divisive on that issue, and I think that's a pretty good approach at it. So another question that's popped up. I got a couple listeners who wanted me to ask you your position. Well, let me phrase it better. In some states, you can do 25 to life. In others, you can enjoy it. So what are your thoughts on legalizing marijuana?
Oh, well, look, I have a long experience with this. I've been a defense counsel for 10 years in the early part of my legal career. I was then an elected prosecutor and served in that capacity for 6 years. I was the Attorney General of Virginia. I do not support the legalization of marijuana. And the reason is because I've seen too much. It's not the drug itself. It's the lifestyle that is being asked that the government say is basically permissible and okay. It's a lifestyle of substance abuse that I just don't think we want to do. You might start with marijuana, and people might think that's a recreational drug, and what's the harm and all that. But it's the lifestyle that leads you into very serious dangers. I can tell your listeners this based on my experience. Once you're in cocaine or you're in heroin or amphetamines or any of these other things, it is absolutely destructive of people. So I just don't agree with starting that lifestyle and saying that it's okay. So I am not a supporter of the legalization of marijuana and starting us down that road.
All right, respectable answer. So another topic I'd like to talk about, get your opinions on. That's how we kind of do it on the show. We like to spit questions. So,
no problem.
In 2007, you talked about, you said that we need to have an honest conversation about college costs. That was the latest I could find about it. You on the issue. So we're $1.3 trillion in student loan debt. It seems that we're past due to have this conversation. So, you have a diverse audience right now. We would like to know, what will a President Gilmore mean for college affordability? Because right now we hear so many things. I would say Bernie Sanders has been the most prominent, saying, tax Wall Street speculation, and you'll have a free public college. And that sounds kind of good. So what is your solution to the cost of college?
Well, the problem is the left wing always approaches things the same way, and that is let's raise taxes on economic growth and economic freedom in this country, and then use the piddling money that they get out of it and use it to give away programs that have no end to them. That's the approach of the left wing and why it never works and why Bernie Sanders is kind of a dinosaur on something like this. Look, the real challenge we're facing right now is there's no oversight on costs whatsoever. If you increase, say, Pell Grants, or you increase more money into the system, they just raise tuition or fees because the higher education racket in this country is to extract as much money as possible. If you can get students who desperately do want higher education, and I am a big supporter of higher education, and my experience and record as governor of Virginia was to be supportive of higher education, you have to really have some oversight on control of costs. Because the market will bear. The colleges will simply raise costs in order to extract as much money and tax money and debt from the students as they possibly can. When I was governor of Virginia, I reduced tuition in Virginia by 20% across the board, which was a direct tax benefit to parents and to families and prevented kids from having to go so deeply into debt. Now, the colleges just screamed. But my position was, look, if you can justify your tuition cost and you have to go through that process, then we'll give you the money out of the budget. We'll increase your budget for higher education in Virginia, but we're going to pass on the savings through tuition cuts to the working families of Virginia. So that's a conservative approach, but you got to get over on the cost side, not just on the money revenue side.
So speaking on the same topic of economics and how we're going to spend our money, do you still support, after 40 years, we've seen trickle-down theory work its magic. Would you still support the ideas of trickle-down economics where we give tax breaks to the very wealthy in this country in hopes that it supports jobs?
Let me say to your listeners, the two signature issues that I'm running for president on is number one, the growth of the American economy, and number two, the dangers we face of national security. Those are my two principal issues. You've addressed issue one. Yes, I do support the so-called trickle-down economy. Look, because that's just a left-wing way of attacking the free market system by using that kind of derogatory term. Here's what I want to say. I want to say that we have had a deliberate policy in this country of taxing investment and taxing business, taxing entrepreneurship, taxing people that want to start businesses, taxing people who have businesses to make sure that we're not growing the economy, and I've had enough of it. The time has come to reverse this process, begin to really make it something that's fun and good and productive to start a business and create wealth. We should be proud of people in the United States who try to create wealth. And building up our businesses and giving people an opportunity to invest and have a chance to grow something is what works in America. It's what's always worked in America. It's the only thing that does work in America. So we have to reverse this. We have to actually change the laws, and I have a specific plan to do it. And one can call it trickle-down economics, but it's not. It's growth economics, and that's what we have to have. We have to grow more businesses, create more jobs, give young people an opportunity to start a career. What we're doing to young people right now in this country is a crime, where we're not bringing people out of college with an opportunity to get their career started. And young people who have to take lesser jobs right now for a lesser amount of money will never be able to catch up to their peers. And this is a crime against the people of the United States, and I'm going to change it when I'm president. And that means we're going to reform the tax system, the personal income system to 10, 15, and 25%, business taxation at 15%, the elimination of the death tax. And with a few additional tweaks like that, with some tax cuts, we can get this economy going again. And if you look at yesterday's news on the stock market, we sure as heck better get going again.
Hey, got my support on those issues. I mean, I've always been the one to say that we need to start cutting red tape for small businesses. Big corporations is where I was going to go to next. I'm trying to, get the other issues that the media necessarily doesn't always talk about. So you're very big on corporate growth, on business growth, growing American business, and I like that. But here is a good question to ask. You seem to be very pro-nuclear power in your legislation. Energy diversity matters to you, from what it seems. Tell me, though, do you support the notion that there is man-made climate change?
Well, it's a great question, and I think the truth is that we don't really know. I think that there's a need for some additional scientific research on this. This is a very complicated subject. We don't have the historical background and data that we ought to have, and I am willing to follow the science. Bryce, I am not some sort of pseudo-religious type on science that says that we know nothing and we reject science. But I'm not willing just to take the left wing's assertions carte blanche. If I became president, I would start a major program to really determine what the science is in this, and then make the public aware that we're taking a good faith effort to look at this. The real challenge we're facing today is that the left wing in this country does not have the confidence of the American people. The left wing does not have the trust of the American people. So when they come forward and say that climate change is a problem and we have to then stop all carbon and we have to begin to control all business and we have to increase regulations and the Environmental Protection Agency has to put in ridiculous regulations, the people of this country don't trust that. And as a consequence of that, the climate change debate has become very emotional. As a presidential candidate and as president of the United States, I would get the facts and make sure the public knows the facts, and I would have the credibility to build trust in the American people. And if we have to address it in a real way, then I would lead in that direction. But I'm not yet convinced because, frankly, I myself don't trust the data that's being given to us.
So now, climate change aside, whether or not climate change is real or not, I think we can all agree that we should be kind to our planet, take care of our planet, because whether we believe if the planet's warming or cooling or whatever, all that minutia, we can all agree that oil spills, burning coal is not necessarily good for our air. So would you continue large investments in clean energy expansion in this country?
No, I think that the free market ought to be in a position, if clean energy is something that works, to be able to put that forward, both with solar and other approaches. I think nuclear power certainly is clean power, other than the nuclear residue that has to be addressed. But I don't believe that we should be looking at a complete ban on fossil fuels. In fact, I believe that one of the great power sources, internationally for the United States today, is the fact that our new technology by entrepreneurs has created processes where we can create more oil and gas in this country, which is giving us great economic power worldwide, and that's a big benefit to us. Now, I'm not interested in dirtying the air or the water. When I was the governor of Virginia, my experience was that there could be a partnership between the environmental movement and government. I was not hostile to the environmentalists, but I don't just go along to get along on this. And I believe that the appropriate use of energy and creation of energy in this country is necessary for our quality of life and our national power.
All right, one last question, and then I'll wind things down, and we'll let you go. This is kind of a random question we got from one of our listeners. What would you do for our space program? Would you go to Mars? Would you make it a first-rate program once again? What would you do?
As president, I would bring people in and say, okay, let's evaluate this. Let's look at the costs that are under consideration for the space program. Let's do a fresh look at the mission and determine what it is we're trying to accomplish. I think there is value in the old Kennedy approach of saying that we're going to reach for the stars and that we're going to show that the American free enterprise system can in fact, create high technology and space exploration. I think there's value in that. I think now we have to look and determine what missions we're discussing and then appropriately finance it. Now, let me say to your listeners, I'm as excited as everybody about the unmanned program that we're seeing and the things we're learning in the solar system and beyond, and the frequent reports that are now coming back from our previous space missions where satellites have been sent into space. So I'm an enthusiast for the program, but I am going to be a hard-headed president and try to understand the kind of investment that's going to be necessary in order to get an appropriate mission. I will say, Bryce, if you have time, I want to address the foreign policy issue for just a moment.
Yes, absolutely. It's just the thing is we on this show, we want to hear the backside. So I was kind of waiting for the wind down to talk about foreign policy. So I'm glad you brought it up. Please tell us about your foreign policy. We want to know.
Well, that's the second signature issue. The first is the growth of the economy, and the second, and jobs and opportunities for Americans, which we don't have today and quite deliberately don't have. But the second issue is national security. Bryce, we're in a lot of danger right now because of this Obama-Clinton policy of pulling back and pulling back. We're sending a message of weakness across the world that is very, very dangerous. Now, as chairman of the National Commission on Terrorism and Homeland Security for the United States for 5 years, as a witness to the 9/11 attack where my state of Virginia was attacked at the Pentagon, I am very concerned about the growth of this international guerrilla warfare against us. We've seen these attacks as recently as today, as a matter of fact, when I think we can all take great pride in these Americans who stopped this terrorist on this train in France. You know, it's Americans who had the gumption to stand up against that kind of person on an individual basis. We as a nation have to stand up to it. But it's worse than that. Because of the Clinton-Obama foreign policy, we're now seeing the rise of Russia and China and the Iranian deal, which once again sends a message of weakness. And I have proposed specific things in order to protect this country based upon my experience. And my experience is as a United States Army veteran, chairman of the National Commission on Homeland Security, a person who's had a long experience in foreign policy. I'm globally traveled. I've been to many of the hotspots in the world, including the demilitarized zone of North Korea, which is in today's news because of the attacks coming across the border up there. And I believe I'll be a strong president that seeks peace through strength. Now, not war through strength, but peace through strength, which means that we need to build up our military and have collective security across the world, particularly in the Middle East, and be a strong president for national security, which I think may avert a major war. And that's what I want to do. I want to see the United States position strong and avoid war if possible.
Well, I mean, peace through strength. I absolutely agree with what you said. I must say, we need to, I think that on the right, we're focused on when we cut from the military. I think we just need to make the military more efficient. I was just talking about on the last show, it costs, a couple $1,000s for a frying pan. It's clearly some inefficiency. So I hope if we have a President Gilmore, you can work that out. Any last thoughts before I let you loose? Because I know you're a very busy man.
Well, I think you're broadcasting into New Jersey and other places. I'm really happy to come on your show. My mother's family all came out of New Jersey. They came out of Swedesboro in South Jersey. And I've done some business in North Jersey near the New York border. So I'm pleased to have a chance to speak to your listeners. I want to be a president that is one that's offering real substance, not loud Trumpism that's calling for the abolition of the Constitution and parts of the Constitution and the assurance of citizenship to particular people. I think that particular approach is dangerous. It's something that can't go on. But I want to be an optimistic president that deals with the issues in real substantive ways and demonstrate to your listeners that I have the experience to do it.
Well, I'm so glad that you've chosen us to come on and speak with us and speak to my listeners. The good news is this is online radio, so you're hitting not only New Jersey folks, but people from all over the place. You're being broadcasted to a heck of a lot of people. But thank you so much for coming on our show. You're always welcome back. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. Have a great day, and if I don't hear from you, good luck with everything.
Thank you, Bryce.
Have a good one.
You too.
All right, so that was former Virginia Governor Jim Gilmore, also presidential hopeful. What a great interview. Very nice man. So glad that he came on today. All right, so when I get back, we're going to go over what I just talked about with Jim Gilmore. We're gonna go over everything. We're going to talk about all of it. I'm going to spew in my left-handed stuff. And then we are going to talk a little bit about Donald Trump and how, well, he's Donald Trumping. And then we'll probably finish it out today by talking about our schedule. We have a jam-packed schedule coming up. Can't wait to, bring on some new people. So that will be covered when I get back. But you stay there, you stay listening, because there is more to this show than what just happened. So Rick, if you could roll us into break.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
Hi, I'm Steve Long.
And I'm Lily Dane.
Are you tired of hearing the same Republican and Democrat banter from the mainstream media?
Does listening to the likes of Sean Hannity, Ann Coulter, Piers Morgan, and Rachel Maddow make you want to jump off a bridge?
If so, come listen to us on Liberty Unfiltered, Sunday nights at 8 Central, 9 Eastern on K98talk.com.
Join us as we fight for freedom against the advocates of big government.
Liberty Unfiltered. It's not your daddy's political talk show.
Wondering why you're up early with us on a Sunday morning making a cocktail? News lately got you drinking? Hung over from the mainstream media by Sunday? We are, and we got you covered.
We sure do. We got your hangover cure for those weekly news blues. So sit back, top off your mimosa, and add some Baileys to that coffee.
Take a match to your copy of the New York Times. Light, funny, and oh yeah, news with booze.
And a lot of laughter.
Welcome to Bloody Marys and Broadsheets.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98talk.com.
Whoa, good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
All right, welcome back, everybody, and we are back. So, I am, very happy that we just landed our interview with Jim Gilmore. That was a long time in the making. And we also have plans for Lincoln Chafee, Martin O'Malley in the fall. So, they're very busy people. We tweeted at Carly Fiorina trying to get her on. I was told that her media schedule was packed, but whatever. Fine, let her be packed. She doesn't deserve opinionation. But now that we're back and the interview's over, I want to talk about some things that I heard that were of the government cliche, of the Republican right-wing cliche. When I talked about climate change, god damn, I wished he wouldn't have said what he said. He's not a scientist and he's got to stick to the science. But again, what the science is telling us is that climate change is well, it's real. And, I mean, I always get into the argument with Rick, the funders of the science or whatever, but in all honesty, the people who fund the science to go con on climate change are who? The Koch brothers and ExxonMobil. I mean, there was one paper that was leaked that said ExxonMobil funded 87 different programs stating that climate change wasn't real. And they knew since 1981 that it was. ExxonMobil, would you believe that? Just saying. I was very happy, though, that he comes at the approach of cutting red tape for small businesses, is what it seemed. I mean, I'm a guy who's sick of giant corporate rule, and I'm sick of kind of what Trump always talks about, corporate control and lobbyists and special interests. And I think that President Gilmore would be pretty good on that from what it sounded. I know a lot of people thought I was coming out of left field with that marijuana question from what I'm seeing. But, that's something important we need to talk about. I am very, 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 very in support of supporting the legalization of marijuana. I mean, let's be real here, okay? Every 6 seconds, someone dies from tobacco, and every 13 seconds, someone dies from alcohol, okay? In the past 10,000 years, not one person has died from marijuana. You don't die from smoking too much marijuana. George Washington grew hemp, Jefferson, Adams, Kennedy smoked it, Bush, Obama, Clinton. Well, Clinton never inhaled, excuse me. But my point is that if we're going to be good businessmen, right, the American entrepreneurial spirit, it makes no sense to keep marijuana illegal, at least in my eyes, because first of all, we've had numerous papers supporting that it is not a gateway drug, right? 1 in 7 people, according to one, I believe it was FDA or DEA report, claiming that 1 in 7 have tried marijuana before they were 25, and then the number drops to 1 in 4. I mean, the sheer fact, what bothers me the most is the sheer fact that we imprison people. Literally, could you imagine that? We throw people in jail for smoking marijuana, or I'm going to call it cannabis, because the name marijuana was purposely put in the 1930s to make it sound dirtier. Cannabis, okay? People get 25 years to life. They get all this thrown in jail, whatever, and they fund the prison industrial complex because they smoked some marijuana. It's ridiculous. And you know why it is? You know why it's not changing? Because the jails make so much freaking money. They make so much money. And not to sound like Donald Trump, but legalizing marijuana, it would be peanuts. That's how much money they would get. They would get peanuts from the taxation of marijuana when compared to the amount of money that the lobbyists get for keeping the prison system running like it is. And it's disgusting. It really is. It disgusts me that we make so much money off a jail system where so many people are in prison for marijuana, cannabis use. It's disgusting. It's abuse of power, and it's shameful that in some states you can do jail time, right? And in other states you can enjoy yourself. And I'm not just talking a day in jail. We're talking years in jail. Mandatory minimums, for God's sakes. John Oliver did a report, or an episode, whatever you want to call him, where he talked about how mandatory minimums make it so that if you smoke a little bit of marijuana, you can get just as much jail time as somebody who hijacks a plane and rapes a baby. So for God's sakes, we need to do something about that. We cannot keep it illegal. It's something, and I'm not a stonehead, okay? I'm not some knucklehead teenager. I'm coming at this from an economic perspective. If we don't legalize marijuana, then we're going to keep throwing people in jail. We're going to keep being the little bitches to these giant corporate lobbyists for our jail systems. And it's terrible. That is why my boy Bernie Sanders has called for an end to the private prison system. Something that I admire that. I don't think that the private prisons are doing it. I think it's, as Rick always says, good intentions pave the way to hell. And where what started as, we can make a cheaper prison system has turned into a business. It's turned into a business where we just had some judge last week. Go check it out. Some judge was he's going on trial, or he was sentenced for actually sending children to private, rather than juvenile detention centers, sending them to private prisons, which he had stock in. That's freaking disgusting. Disgusting. It's abhorrent that we have a jail system where you make money off of it. It's almost as abhorrent as the notion that we make money off children trying to better their lives by getting an education. That is disgusting. Really, it is. But to get off this rant, Jim Gilmore just said, "Great talking with you, Bryce. Keep up the good work." That I am taking a screenshot of. I gotta be honest. This is kind of, I guess you can watch it on TV all the time and you see politicians coming on television. But I started Opinion Nation almost a little less than a year ago. I started in the winter. I came on an interview. I started on it as a Twitter account, and I wanted to become a YouTube channel. And I met Rick and Dave. Actually, I didn't know what automatic messaging was on Twitter. And I got an automatic message from America Off the Rails. I guess I followed it, tried to get a lot of followers back. And I sent a message to Rick thinking that he was just messaging me. And that's where the ball started to roll. And they offered me to do an interview on Finding Common Ground, a show that I now host, as many of you know. What's amazing to me is where we've gone, what we've done. And it's amazing how what started as an interview, originally we were going to talk about, I was going to say why Obama is better than Reagan. And then we just got onto the topic of nuclear power in the military. So, I mean, it was kind of it was an interesting start. And then I did the interview, and then I was talking, and Dave said on the interview, we would love to, we've been talking behind here, and we think that you should have a show. And now I'm here. And just a couple months later, we're getting off the phone with crazy pastors, James David Manning, former Virginia governors, and I got a whole list of guests that are coming on in the coming weeks. But it really it's a great feeling that we can do so much. If you work hard, this is definitely going to give Rick a tearjerker here because I'm pandering to his ideology, but it's really true. If you work hard and you believe in what you're doing and you believe what you're doing is a good thing, you can do anything you want. And to be quite honest, I never thought, if you told me, a couple years ago, I'd be interviewing presidential candidates and I'd be talking to hundreds of people on radio, I would have said you're an idiot. But I'm so glad that I'm here today, getting to talk to James Gilmore. So I kind of just did a little rant right there, right? We were talking about marijuana, prisons. We were talking about now Jim Gilmore. Kind of interesting. But anyways, so now the next topic I really want to move to, I mean, I guess we could still talk about Jim Gilmore's interview with us for a little, but then I really want to talk about Donald Trump a little bit. Because, wow, that guy got into something interesting in respect to his his rally the other day. That was interesting. But what I did want to get into was actually, wait, hang on, getting ahead of myself. Back to Jim Gilmore. I asked him about space. I thought that was interesting. I think space is important. I think we really need to hold a high ground in space. We really need to have top of the line space program. I don't know if we're doing that right now. I think we're going in the right direction by privatizing a lot of the space industry, contracting it out to companies like SpaceX and whatnot. I think that's a good move. With President Obama, I have to give him a thumbs up on the space program. I think he's leaving a good path for NASA to expand. But somebody who scares me is Ted Cruz. he talked about the space program. You can look it up. He did a whole interview where he said, we're spending too much on earth sciences. Why aren't we spending more money on going places? And what's amazing is that we are, number one. And number two, in my opinion, I don't give a shit about a star that's 5 trillion light years away that we're never going to see. It's great that that planet might have water on it. I don't give a shit. California doesn't have water. So why don't we focus on earth science? So that is something that I hope any president notes, is that we really need to expand or continue the expansion of our study here on Earth. Because we're not going anywhere unless we can keep this planet clean and safe. So that is something that I definitely am glad we talked about. And one last topic before I jump ships away from Jim Gilmore is when we talk about nuclear power. I was glad that I brought that up because that was, like I said, one of the first topics I had with Rick was nuclear power in America. I talk about thorium, right? And me and my friends go back and forth on this topic. We talk about thorium. Thorium is the best, whatever. I was hopeful with what he said. Nuclear power is clean, other than the residue it leaves behind, nuclear waste. I hope that means he's pro-nuclear. I really do. I really believe that if we invest enough in nuclear power, that will be our future. I mean, coal really needs to die. Okay? I mean, look at it this way. Okay? 60,000, 60 followed by 3 more zeros, are dying each year as a result of air pollution from coal-fired power plants. 13,000 of which are in the United States. Okay? In China, when you go completely free market, right, no regulation, their air quality in Shanghai is the equivalent of smoking 27 cigarettes a day. Okay? We just had this conversation on Finding Common Ground about how, free market, when left to itself, is good, but not too much. And when it comes down to energy, we need to be very careful because energy is so important. Okay? We take it for granted in this country. Everyone has lights since the 1940s, okay? Everybody, 99% of America was lit up after FDR left office, and it was only 20% or something, 12% when he came into office. I mean, that is a clear example of government doing good. Just throwing that out there. But my point is here, government is supposed to have the best intentions of the people. Corporations are supposed to have the best intentions in respects to gaining profit. And I don't like coal. I've been trying to get an interview with people from the American Coal Alliance, from different coal backgrounds. I've got to shoot back emails. And we're going to talk about this again. My opinion is this. Outlaw coal. No more coal in this country. We don't need coal. We really don't need coal. Natural gas is doing its job to kill off coal, and I'm glad about that, because natural gas is a shitload cleaner than coal. But people like to tell you, coal is the backbone of this country. What are you going to do to all those coal jobs? What's going to happen to all the coal mining jobs? And to that I say, we once had asbestos miners, especially in the northern states and in Canada. Asbestos mining was huge. Huge! But today, we wouldn't wish that on our worst enemy to be an asbestos miner. Okay, we used to have toll booth operators. We don't have that anymore. Technology has surpassed that. But because we have special interests and lobbyists and the whole crap of, painting environmental protection as a left-wing pivot move is really getting us away from what we need to be talking about. And the fact of the matter is, whether you believe in climate change or not, coal is not good for the air that we breathe, and I'm open for clean coal in respects to burying the CO2 emissions. That's actually the goal, right? That's what they talk about, is burying the CO2 emissions under the ground and let carbon sequestration take care of the rest. The problem is with that is that it's so expensive, so there's really no need. I mean, it's really ridiculous, in all honesty. So, Wow, this episode's really going by quick. I gotta be honest. I prepared a lot more. I had a lot more to talk about, and it's going by pretty quickly. But what I can talk about for the rest of the show, I guess, is we'll talk about Donald Trump. Right? That's what I talk about a lot of episodes. I talk about Donald Trump, how he's better than Hillary Clinton. So I'm gonna play a clip that I played in the last episode of Finding Common Ground. I'm gonna talk about that, and I'm gonna talk about some other things. So here, have a listen.
I will rebuild our military. It will be so strong and so powerful and so great. It will be so powerful and so great that we'll never have to use it. Nobody's going to mess with us, folks. Nobody. Nobody. Nobody's going to mess with us. Beautiful.
So that's
$8,737,540,000.
Yep, that's. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. Okay, I mean, for what it is, we have a case of Donald Trump saying garbage, and it rallies up all these people. It's amazing how so many people get rallied up from Donald Trump. To be quite honest, Donald Trump, he's not saying anything. He's not laying out policy, and it bothers me that all these people are going nuts for the guy. But you know what? What do I care? I want Bernie Sanders to win. So fuck everybody who wants Jeb Bush to win. I mean, look, Donald Trump actually, when you get down to it, he says good stuff. Okay? His rhetoric, his pandering, and whatever you want to call it is good. But ultimately, what we see is that he doesn't have a lot of policy. And if he's got policy writers, they're not doing their jobs. You better get them off their asses. I mean, it's unbelievable that he has only released immigration policy, which, to be quite honest, I don't know if I agree with. I kind of sided with Jim Gilmore on that. We're not sending 11.2 million people home, okay? That's out of the question. It's going to cost billions of dollars, unless he wants to pay for it. But he's only got, Rick, if you could play how much he's worth again. All right, well, Rick gets the tape of how much he's worth, because I kind of forget the number. Trust me,
$8,737,540,000.
There we go. So that's how much he's worth. Okay, that's not this. I saw a number. I saw 600 billion. I saw 1.7 trillion. Or excuse me, it would cost 600 billion to get them out. It would cost the U.S. economy though $1.7 trillion. So, from a businessman's perspective, I don't know if it's worth it. Go talk to your friends at Wharton, Mr. Trump. But, as I said on the last show, the cornerstone of U.S. economics is cheap labor. And whether you're a moral angel or not, that's just the fact of the matter. And unless you want to change the U.S. economic system, which I'm open to, right? I'm Johnny Socialist. Or I'm
My socialist. God, are you still talking?
That's what Rick does when he hears the word socialist or anything liberal. He wonders why I'm still talking. But
just when I think you've said the stupidest thing ever, you keep talking.
Where was I now? All right, socialist. Unless you want to change the economic system and how it works, I don't understand what he's trying to get at here. But you know what it does? It rallies up the WASPs, I guess we would call them, right? I mean, if there was an equivalent for blacks, I'd be a racist right now. But because it's about white people, it's not racist, so I can say it. The white Anglo-Saxon Protestants or whatever. He's pandering to them. And the best one was when he said, I wish I had the clip. I don't have it. Please look it up, okay? He talks about his favorite book. And he says, he sees somebody with the book, his book, The Art of the Deal, and he says, hold that up, that's my favorite book. And he goes, you know what? That's not my favorite book. My favorite book is the Bible. And then he starts talking about how the Bible is his favorite book. Nothing beats the Bible. He said that. He said nothing beats the Bible. All right, sure, buddy. I mean, look, I'm not a religious guy, right? I went to Hebrew school, and I had to. Oh, trust me, it is terrible. From a kid's perspective, of course, Hebrew school or Sunday school, whatever you go to. The Bible is definitely, it's interesting when you read it. It's definitely not my favorite book. I didn't enjoy necessarily read. I like the story of Samson. I don't know if I enjoy so much else of it. But if that's his favorite book, by all means. But I mean, this is like, again, out of a movie. This is like out of the Campaign. If you ever saw it with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis, this is bizarre. How people love him. I mean, it's amazing that Donald Trump is saying the rhetoric he's saying, and he's still getting where he's going. Oh boy. Anyways, we only got a couple minutes left, so I'm going to talk about what's coming up in the coming weeks. We have a whole host of guests to talk about. So, next week, we have Rod Eccles coming on the show. I don't know if any of you heard, our last confrontation with Rod Eccles was pretty much a death match. I don't think there was a victor. I think we both came out pretty bloody. I was on Finding Common Ground. Dave was on that episode. We were all talking, having a good time. It was fun. We talked about climate change. So I tried my best, right, to be good and stay away from the topic of climate change when Rod comes on. But we're going to be talking about the new EPA rules, the new hit orders, as Rick would put it, on coal and on pollution and on whatnot. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about that. And that's going to be fun. And then we should be having Senator Bill Perkins from New York State Senator Bill Perkins will be coming on the show, and we're going to talk about a whole host of things in relations to the prison system. Just kind of what we were talking about today. We're going to talk about mandatory minimums and, most importantly, solitary confinement. That's his big issue. If you don't know, if you think solitary confinement is better than the death penalty, it might just be the same shit. And it's honestly, when you get into it, it's not very good. So we're going to talk about that and more. And then we're going to have some guests from the coal industry. We're going to have guests talk about immigration. Trust me, we're going to take care of you. You come, you listen to us every Saturday. I'll be here. I'll be talking my liberal junk. Anyways, so I got a college visit to go to. I'm going to be interviewing for American University. So if anyone listening has their hands in colleges, tweet me at Robbins Bryce. Help me out. But I'll just let you know where you can find me, and then we're probably going to wind things down for the day. But this has been a good episode. I'd like to shout out to Jim Gilmore. Thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show. If you're still listening, you're probably not, because you're busy. You're doing your presidential stuff. Thank you for coming on our show. It was really a pleasure to have you, and it only makes me look forward to having other politicians on the show. But I'm glad that we're getting some high-name guests. I mean, it makes me happy. But don't forget, tweet me at Robbins Bryce, or you can tweet me at OPNAT News, OPNAT News. But I would always prefer if you tweeted me at my regular personal Twitter account at Robbins Bryce. That's ROBINSBRYCE. Bryce Robbins is the name. Tweet me there. Or follow us on Facebook. Give us a like on Facebook. Our Facebook page always does well. Gets a lot of action. Opinion Nation News. I don't know why we chose to add news early on, and now we're just Opinion Nation on the radio, but whatever. It's no big deal. So please join us there. Definitely. We want to hear your opinions. That's the whole point of the show. Your opinions matter, and you're the nation, so we want to hear your opinions. We've actually been doing pretty well, actually, in regards to getting your views on things. So keep them coming. Definitely keep them coming. Shout out to a couple of people, actually. Well, first to Jim Gilmore. Want to give him a thank you. Another shout out is to Michael Arado.
Hey, Beavis, you're talking in circles and you're going to be late to your own interview.
That is true, Rick. I just want to give a shout out to Michael Arado. He's been waiting very patiently to be a guest on the show. So, just got to give him a shout out. Anyways, I got to run. I'll see you next Saturday. Same time, same place, different guest. Be there. I love you all.
Welcome to Opinion Nation.
What makes us Americans is our shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal.
I, too,
to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
It got up to like $68,000. My heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
The internet will never be the same. You're listening to K98Talk.com.
Good God, y'all. What is it good for? Absolutely. Let's get started again.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-513-6154. That's 1-800-513-6154. Again, 1-800-513-6154. Call now.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.